Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. This meeting takes place in the traditional and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people. There's no additions or deletions to the agenda. So we'll move to 4.1, recommendation that council approve the agenda for January 14th, 2025 meeting as presented. Does someone want to move that recommendation? Moved by Councilor Greek. Is there a seconder? Second by Councilor Strong. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carried unanimous. Approval of the minutes. Recommendation that council approve the December 10th, 2024 meeting minutes as presented. So moved by Councilor Strong, seconded by Councilor Babineau. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, motion carried unanimous. So we move on to 6.1 presentations, and we do have a presentation tonight. So I'll welcome the committee from Lunenburg County Wheels up to the podium, please.
Try this again. Mayor Myra and members of council, I am the president of Lunenburg County Wheels, Jerome Tanner. We appreciate the opportunity to update council on the operation of Lunenburg County Wheels. With me this evening is our treasurer, Harry Beach, and operations manager, Darren Lance. It is now over 9 months that we started the last leg of our expansion. We used to be Senior Wheels Association, and now we're a branch of Lunenburg County Wheels to include all of municipality of the district of Lunenburg and the towns of Mahone Bay, Lunenburg, and Bridgewater. We are pleased that we are able to provide this service to all our residents, and it certainly has been well received. I will now ask Darren to provide some updates on our operation, and then Harry will provide some update on our finances.
Thank you, Jerome, and good evening, everyone. Can I have the next slide, please? So we've had a very busy year. Lunenburg County Wheels has, as Jerome mentioned, has completed the last stage of our expansion, which included south of the 103 and east of the LaHave River, which includes LaHave, Lunenburg, Mahone Bay, and the Riverport areas. We were waiting for our vehicles to arrive in order to do this. So we now have a fleet of 6 vehicles, which include a 8-passenger bus, 1 7-passenger minivan, and 4 8-passenger ProMaster vans, which are all wheelchair accessible. Next slide, please. So as Jerome has noted, our area now that we service now includes all Lunenburg County West, which includes the 3 townships within that area. Next slide, please. To go along with our expansion, obviously we've put more vehicles on the road, so we've added to our staff as well. In January, we hired a full-time dispatcher. When we were working with 1 and 2 vehicles, we had a call center that was doing our dispatch service with us. We're moving up to 4 vehicles. We thought it would probably be a little bit too complicated for that system, so we did end up hiring a full-time dispatcher to do our dispatching for us. And we moved into an office in Aberdeen in the old municipal building. We added 3 full-time drivers, 2 part-time drivers, 9 casual drivers, and we still have 3 volunteer drivers left over from the Senior Wheels days, which give us 1 shift per week. And we have additional 3 volunteer drivers that help us out during community events on weekends and times outside our normal operating hours. Next slide. Let's flip the paper the right way. We're very pleased with the uptake on our ridership. Last year, we were running somewhere between 500 and 600 rides per month. In October of this year, we capped out at 1,300 rides per month. So we've a little bit more than doubled our ridership with the addition of the vehicles and the expansion area. To the point that with the 4 vehicles that we had on the road, any one day, we started turning people away. So we were up to rejections from 80 to 90 a month, and we thought that was a little high. So the board got together and decided to put the extra funding out and put the 5th vehicle on the road. So now most days we have 5 vehicles on the road from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We can go to the next slide. So where are people going? It's a wide range. We've seen a big spike in people using us to get to work. Obviously, we've had a lot of immigration into our area. Those people either have driver's license or don't have vehicles at this time. So we've had a big spike in that. We've got a few organizations that use us for sheltered workshops, mental health and drug dependency use us once a week to do a workshop for them. Training, we've got a couple of people just outside Lunenburg here that take us into and to go to community college. We've got a couple of younger people that take it to go to school. Certainly lots of medical appointments and a lot of access to food, either food banks or grocery stores. Physical activity. So we have Ashwood Lodge just outside Bridgewater. They have a weekly booking. They go into the LCLC and do a walking around the track. Lots of shopping and errands, social and recreational connections, and a few others. But it's good to see that we have a system in place that can get people where they want to go when they want to get there. Next slide, please. So we've pretty much covered what's new. I say it's been a big expansion this year, addition of a dispatcher. We've added a part-time admin person. As a result of adding the 2 employees, we had to move to a bigger office within our building. The addition of the part-time drivers, the full-time drivers, and the additional staff to run the extra vehicles. And I guess the latest thing is in January, we kicked off a new dispatch software. So in conjunction with the Rural Transportation Association, which is the group that we belong to, which is 23, 24 organizations throughout the province that are all doing this, providing rural transportation. And the province put together a software to help us dispatch our vehicles. So the idea behind the software is it's AI based in order to try and get the most efficiency out of our rides. So we're trying to pick up more people as we go around instead of just having one person in the vehicle. So I guess I'll wrap this up. But the thing that's not in this presentation, the things that you can't see, are the hundreds of people that we're giving rides to every month. And they're the people that when they get in the vehicle, appreciate us being there, appreciate the fact that they have no other way to get where they want to go, especially at the prices that we're charging. So if you call a taxi to do what we're doing, you're looking at a substantially more expensive ride than what we're doing. So we occasionally get a chance to ride, do some driving, and it's really heartwarming when people hop in your vehicle and say how much they appreciate the service and how much they need us. So, unless anybody has any questions on what I've presented here, I'll turn it over to Harry. Thank you.
Thanks for the chance to speak with you today. I'm the treasurer of the Senior Wheels Association, and the Senior Wheels Association operates the Lunenburg County Wheels. So we're really two things, but we're really only one, because we only do one thing, which is run this dial-a-ride community transportation operation in the areas that Darren has outlined. I've owned a car for close to 60 years and had never really taken personal transportation for granted for most of that time. The only time I would wonder about it was if my clutch went or I needed gas, and I didn't have the money for it. It took becoming a volunteer for the Senior Wheels group 9 years ago to open my eyes to what makes public transportation important and what makes me passionate about doing it. And I'm volunteering my time to help make it happen in this area. You can't do if you can't do what you need to do if you can't get where you need to go. And we help people get there, and we make a difference in people's lives. People who couldn't afford to go where they need to go and would have to move out of their home and into town or into a home or something. That happens because of what we're doing now. But I'm not here to talk too much about that. I'm here to talk about the finances. We started the year with a significant operating surplus, and that came about largely because of the fortuitous side of the supply chain disruptions created by COVID. We ordered 4 new vans well over a year and a half, almost 2 years before we got them. We were expecting to have them a lot sooner. Our operating grants from the provincial government kept coming in through that time. We're in the 3rd year now of a 5-year pilot. So we amassed a small surplus, and that's allowed us to stretch our operation beyond where we had budgeted it to be. Paying the extra staff to run the 5th vehicle, paying the extra rent for the larger office to accommodate the admin staff that we probably brought in. All of that wouldn't have been possible if we hadn't had the little bit of break in our schedule. I won't go over the numbers in great detail with you. We passed those out to you well in advance, and if you've got questions about them, we're more than happy to answer, but I'll just go over it broadly. On the revenue side, we're getting about 55% of our money from the provincial government. Earlier this year, they upped our amount by over $60,000, unsolicited in advance, I guess, of the election, who knows? But all of the organizations like ours got a raise, and it made a big difference. We got about 20% of our budget from municipal governments. And a good contribution from the town of Lunenburg last year, and we really appreciate the $10,000 that you've provided us. You've matched the amount that Mahone Bay provides, and you've doubled what the town of Bridgewater gives. MODL receives a lot of service from us, and they've been a very important contributor, and they're giving us $65,000 a year. Our fares contribute only about 10% of our revenue stream. They're low, and they're low on purpose. MODL has provided us with a significant amount of money to help us keep those fares down. And we do fundraising, and we get donations, and we've been able to get a little bit of interest from the money that we have in the bank. And community groups like the United Way of Lunenburg County provide us with money for subsidy of fares for people who can't afford to pay the low fares we have. The hospital auxiliary for the area provides money that helps us with the insurance for the vehicles and for our office space. The Lions Club of Bridgewater, the Lions Club of New Germany, the Bridgewater Legion, the Michelin factory provides us with tires. CKBW provides us with some airtime along with their weather forecast that publicizes the operation. The community has pulled together and supported us, and we're the beneficiary of that, and are the residents of the area. On the expense side, we spend about 1/3 of our revenue of our expenditures on overhead, operating our office, paying our operations manager, paying for our dispatcher, paying for the admin support, the rent, the phones, and all of that stuff. 2/3 goes to paying for the vehicles. Driving the drivers are a big part of that. The maintenance, the fuel, the insurance for the vehicle. Those costs are 2/3 of what we're spending. We project a small deficit this year. We project a bigger deficit next year, and an even bigger one the year after. We've expanded beyond we expanded to the limit of the vehicles that we have because we're trying to find out how big the need is. We know what we're doing, we can't continue to do, but what we're doing, we can do now, and we can do that for the next year. It's a conscious decision to use the pilot for what it was intended, which is to find out what's really needed and how much service the area is looking for right now. So at some point in the future, we're going to have to increase revenue or decrease expenditures, or a little bit of both, to right size the organization to match the budgets that are around, and to keep us sustainable, because we want to keep on the road doing what we're doing. Yeah, so that's it for us. If you have questions, all of us would be very happy to answer those.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I guess the one quick question I'd have before a comment is, so are you looking for the same amount this year for the upcoming budget as you did last year? Because
it would be very gratefully received. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And then again, I can't reiterate enough how much needed this service was. And I think it's provided a great service for our residents. And I actually see the vans in town quite often, which I'm very happy to see, because obviously people need this service. And it's something that, you know, without your organization's, I guess, will and work on this probably wouldn't have happened the way it has. So again, thank you very much from the citizens of the town of Lunenburg. I know it's being well received, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Before I go on to number 7, if you guys wanted to leave, you could, unless you want to stay for the meeting.
Just as your worship, yeah, just as the gentlemen are leaving, I just add emphasis to your thanks. In a previous life on town council, I sat through many meetings where public transportation was discussed, and to see how you've grown Senior Wheels and encompassed the town of Lunenburg in your services is very wonderful to see. So thank you very much to all your team of volunteers.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to number 7. This is the public input and question section. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. Each person must state their name. Questions or comments are directed through the chair, and comments and questions are open to any municipal matter. We have one individual that has signed up tonight, is Hugh Griffiths. So Hugh, the mic is yours.
Good evening, Your Worship. Good evening, councillors. My name is Hugh Griffiths, and I am president of the Lunenburg branch of the Navy League of Canada. The Navy League of Canada is a non-profit, volunteer-led organisation that supports youth education and leadership programs, as well as promotes the maritime interests of Canada. We are a fundraising organisation that supports Royal Canadian Sea Cadet Corps 39, your tenant at the Blue Building. I have here 39 Neptune's warrant from the Honourable Minister of National Defence for Naval Services of the Dominion of Canada, dated the 30th of January 1943, meaning the Corps has been in existence for just short of 82 years. With your permission, I would like to ask Captain Aaron Goodick, Commanding Officer of 39 Neptune, to present this to you for your perusal. During those 82 years, 39 Neptune counts amongst its alumni one former mayor of the town of Lunenburg and the father of our current MLA. The Royal Canadian Sea Cadet program teaches knowledge and skills about seamanship, sailing, and traditions of the Royal Canadian Navy, providing a unique youth program and giving boys and girls between the ages of 12 and 18 valuable opportunities for camaraderie, education, discipline, community service, and leadership. A former commanding officer of 39 Neptune, Lieutenant Kelly, reminded me only yesterday of a conversation she had with Your Worship at her departure with dignity event from the Royal Canadian Navy a short while ago, when she was able to detail the breadth and depth of work and achievements of 39 Neptune. She tells me that you were impressed with her descriptions of its activities and achievements. The sea, seamanship, and sailing are all features of which this town is rightly proud. And 39 Neptune is likewise proud to be part of this town's rich cultural heritage. Town, sea, and sea cadets are inextricably linked. 39 Neptune provides service to the town. Each year on the 11th day of November, the cenotaph is guarded by members of the Corps during the Remembrance Day parade, and the Corps' band plays the Canadian and Royal anthems at the beginning and end of the service, respectively. Remembrance remains a vital part of the national psyche, and the Corps' participation in this event is a privilege. Likewise, 39 Neptune is always proud to be asked to participate in the annual Seamen's Memorial Service on the wharf in late summer. Town, sea, and sea cadets linked once again. Indeed, members of the Corps were presented to His Honour the Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia after the service in 2022, and during conversation he noted he had also been a sea cadet. We became aware of the possibility of losing the current Corps HQ in the Blue Building quite by accident. One of our executives noting the inclusion of the Lunenburg daycare issue in this meeting's agenda. We had not been previously notified of this possibility either by daycare or by the town. Having read the council's 7-page document included in tonight's agenda and daycare's weighty tome, 39 Neptune receives scant consideration. There are statements that sea cadets would be relocated and sea cadets will be relocated, but no detail as to how, when, to where, and at whose expense such relocation would be made. We do note and are grateful that the town has always provided a place for the Corps, and if it is to be relocated, to any new location would need to provide space for marching and drill, suitable areas for training, storage, and offices for officers and staff. We wish to remain an integral part of the fabric of this town and community. We do not want to be the forgotten element of what would be a multi-million-dollar redevelopment program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess what I can tell you is that the daycare has been mentioned in conversation when we've talked, and there's no suggestion of us getting rid of the or the sea cadets getting rid of the sea cadets. We are certainly aware that if we would choose that location, and we're not there at this point, but if we would choose that location, there's a number of steps that we have to take. That's why we didn't contact anyone at this point, because we have to decide whether that's one of the locations or not. If it is, then we have to go to public hearings and some other things. And at that time, of course, you'd have been notified. But we definitely realize we have to work with the sea cadets and find a suitable location to relocate you in the future, or to work with you and to collaborate a solution for this. I was involved many moons ago when you moved to the Blue Building, and I know how popular and how successful it's been since that move, because you guys struggled for years at that time after the old curling club had been torn down to find a permanent location. So again, I think we're all aware that this is something we will have to explore, but we're just not to that stage yet. So we weren't sort of intentionally not telling anybody. It was just, we weren't to that point yet. And then it was brought up at a public meeting and discussed in committee of the whole. And that, I apologize if you feel that you were sort of left out of the loop, but it wasn't really leaving you out of the loop. We weren't to that part of the loop yet. So thank you for your presentation. I guess just to say that we haven't forgotten about the Sea Cadets. I'll put it that way.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you. So there was only one person signed up. Some people did come in towards the end when the sheet was brought back. If anyone else would like to stand up, you have 3 minutes if you'd like to take the podium. Jesse?
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Your Worship and Council, for letting me speak tonight. I didn't plan on speaking, but I feel compelled to on the topic of revisiting the potential renaming of Cornwallis Street on the agenda tonight. There are just some facts I want to share that I think are important to make it onto the record as Council makes their decision that I just don't see reflected in the agenda package currently. So back when the survey went out for Cornwallis Street, the results came back to Council. A lot of important information, my perspective is, I believe, was missing from the actual report that came to Council that is presented in the same kind of incomprehensible pie charts that are in the agenda tonight. The survey that went out, everyone was able to pick 3 choices optionally. You could pick just one, you could pick up to 3, and there was no information to people who were voting about how it would actually be calculated. The calculation process and the way that it's been presented to Council since then, it's left out really important information. I had published a story back in late December 2023 titled Lunenburg Confirms Report Informing Council on Cornwallis Street Renaming Misrepresented Survey Data and Omitted 103 Comments. That was published by the Lunenburg Barnacle on their website. It's available today, and it includes the full data set that we got through a Freedom of Information request, showing what all of the actual votes were for the ranked voting for Lunenburg residents, and crucially, the 103 comments that were made as well. 103 people who live in town took their time to make comments about what the survey meant to them and what they thought should be tracked as input. They were hoping that made it to Council. That was completely left out of the report that's made it to Council. It's never been acknowledged at a Council meeting yet. A lot of people were concerned about the way that the survey was formed then and were strongly against Queen Street. So voters did not have to choose more than one option. Out of the 104 town voters who put Queen as their first preference, almost half of people selected at least one Mi'kmaq term as a second or third preference. I think that's significant. Even the people who thought that Queen was the top one, most of them thought another option would be fine as well, specifically a Mi'kmaq option. And across 270 votes, voters chose a Mi'kmaq term 414 times as any one of the 3 preferences, while Queen was only selected 154 times across the 3 preferences. So, I mean, that's completely not represented in the agenda package still. It's the whole way that the survey went out. Everyone thinks it's really weird. If you had a survey that says, like, is your favorite color yellow, or is it cerulean blue or aqua blue or 6 other shades of blue? More people would vote for yellow, but more people probably prefer blue. It's the way that the survey went out, and it's really weird that nobody has addressed that yet. Like, why have we leaned towards Queen Street for that reason? The last thing I'll say to respect time is that the town published a statement in December 2023 saying, we are committed to creating a positive relationship with our Indigenous partners and have asked for their advice on this matter. Until we have had a meaningful dialogue with them, we will take no further action on renaming Cornwallis Street. So I would hope that that commitment that we made gets reflected in the discussion tonight as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's on the agenda later on, as you know, Jesse, 10.3, but I think at that point, it'll probably be moved to a committee of the whole meeting for a much more in-depth discussion on where we hid in with this whole process. So we'll take note of your comments, and you know, obviously your comments and other people's comments have been taken note by this council because it's back on the agenda. And as you know, the street hasn't been changed yet. So thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to 8. 8 is correspondence. So basically, there's quite a few correspondence on there this meeting. A number of them will be items I think we'll move probably to committee of the whole to discuss further before we discuss it here at council. But 8 I would like to recommend 8.1, 8.2, and 8.6. We move to committee of the whole if that's suitable for everybody. Everybody good with that? Okay. 8.3 and 8.4, we can move to the budget process, I guess, because they're down the road a ways. Everybody's okay with that? Pardon? So, yeah. So 8.1, 8.2, and 8.6 move to our next committee of the whole meeting. And then 8.3 and 8.4, I'm suggesting the budget process. 8.5 is really just that correspondence letter from the minister, because we've adopted the code of conduct. And then 8.7 is the only really actionable item tonight that we'd have to deal with. So we'd need someone to make that recommendation because it's this month, and we can then sign the document. So is someone prepared to move that? Moved by Councilor Strong, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed. So does anybody have anything else on the correspondence? Deputy Mayor?
I'd just like to mention about the items that are being moved to committee of the whole. I'm in agreement with that. Seeing what they are, I think we need a more fulsome discussion on each of those areas of or topics that have been raised. I just want to point out that you mentioned the next meeting, committee of the whole, and I know we already have a number of items on that, so it might be a matter of distribution as is possible to get through all of the items. So it might be a little further down the road. That's all.
Excellent. I was just told we do need to make a motion to refer all those items to a future committee of the whole meeting. How's that? So does someone want to make that a motion? Moved by Councilor Babineau, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 9, there's no public hearings, public information. So we'll move on to number 10. 10.1 is the Lunenburg Daycare Center. So who's presenting it? Mark? Hey, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor Myra. Thanks for the opportunity to introduce and present this report related to the Lunenburg Daycare Center's request for town-owned land. A memo has been included in the agenda package, including the recommendations that council commits to making available a suitable piece of municipal land subject to further analysis and council approval. And then additionally, that council directs staff to hold a public hearing on entering a lease with the Lunenburg Daycare Center for a specific land option. And please note to this recommendation that this could apply to multiple land options and include multiple public hearings that could occur at the same council meeting. An alternative recommendation has also been included for your consideration. To provide some background information, the Lunenburg Daycare Center is seeking a suitable land option as a contribution from the town of Lunenburg to develop a new facility that would add 96 new childcare spaces to the existing 113. The new facility would serve to address the long wait list of the existing facility and better meet the childcare needs of the town and wider community. The new facility would be required to meet the provincial early learning and childcare regulations, as well as the Access by Design 2030 framework. To that end, the Lunenburg Daycare Center has requested a confirmation of ownership or leasehold or partnership agreement or commitment from the town of Lunenburg. This can be made in the form of formal motion by council. The Lunenburg Daycare Center requires this confirmation of support by tomorrow, January 15th, to secure funding from the province and proceed with next steps in project planning. At the January 7th Committee of the Whole meeting, council requested additional information regarding the land area adjacent to the new Harborview Haven site, details on the feasibility of constructing a new building to replace the public works functions currently housed in the blue building, Victoria Road, and any relevant information from the forthcoming parking and traffic study. This is also included in the memo and will be touched on shortly. For additional context, early discussions with the town had explored the concept of a mixed-use facility to accommodate the daycare, as well as a gymnasium that could be used in partnership with the town for use by the general public. This was deemed unfeasible early on due to the high costs. However, of note, if a location with the recreation complex were to be offered, the Lunenburg Daycare Center Board has expressed potential interest in collaborating on new administrative models with the town on the existing community center facility, which could provide some mutual benefits. At the December 10th, 2024 council meeting, the daycare center presented a proposal of 3 choice building options located within the recreation complex areas, which included specifically the site of the existing community center, the blue building, and the field parking lot in the general area between the community center and skate park. As noted previously, and including at the December 10th meeting, the daycare center has expressed a willingness to work with the town on any developable site options. To briefly expand on that, the site options presented and reviewed preliminarily by staff can be divided into the more general recreation complex area and other potential areas. To start with the recreation complex area, in early discussions between the town of Lunenburg and the daycare center, the recreation complex emerged as a preferred site option. The specific sites noted in the report are the existing community center site, the blue building, and the area effectively in between. The general area is served by water, wastewater, electricity, and a large parking lot. The levels of complexity and cost, of course, vary depending on the specific siting. The area also provides some benefits relating to its campus-like setting with complementary recreation and institutional facilities nearby. To move on to the other potential areas as reviewed by staff, and to specify as shown in the provided table in the memo, this includes the site of the existing dog park, the area across the street and surrounding area, and for the purposes of this report are noted as the Star Street location and what's known as the Wolf Avenue Park in the area of the new Harborview Haven site, including the adjacent town-owned lot. Staff believe these site options are unlikely to match the recreation complex as far as convenience and access to complementary facilities, but may provide opportunities that do not impact existing recreation or public works facilities. To follow up on some previously brought forward questions relating to the recreation complex parking lot, as part of the upcoming traffic and parking study, the hired consultant reviewed the existing lot with the goal of providing recommendations to increase parking capacity and enhancing circulation, and basically transitioning the existing diagonal spaces to a perpendicular design could create an additional 40 spaces. To improve functionality and safety, they also recommend installing concrete islands at the ends of the parking aisles to guide drivers, and a concrete sidewalk is proposed along the frontage of the community center and curling club to enhance safety and walkability. Predicted costs range from approximately $35,000 for simply painting, new line painting, to up to $292,000 for paving and new line painting for that work. To follow up on requests for information regarding the operational and financial impacts related to a potential relocation of the public works from the existing blue building. The building itself currently houses approximately 125 by 50 feet of cold storage, which includes storage for the recreation facilities. It also houses a fully functional heated carpentry workshop. Precedents to draw from, with estimating costs, include the previously constructed salt shed on Star Street approximately 10 years ago, which provides a typical template for this type of facility. If that example is to be used as comparable and accounting for inflation and current construction costs, the construction of a new facility on Star Street is in the approximately $1 million range. And this is in line with studies conducted for similar buildings in neighboring communities like Mahone Bay, who explored constructing a similar facility, which was projected to cost about $1.5 million. Thank you. Thank you very much. An existing alternative site for the carpentry workshop could be the old fire hall, which has sufficient space, but would require some upgrades and work to function with comparable levels of functionality. And then finally, related to the financial implications, divesting land has a financial impact and would limit potential future use and development, potential revenue generation, and other strategic uses of the land. And these impacts would be tied to the individual site options. And additionally, no site option is shovel ready and would require investment into the servicing, or in the case of the blue building, capital expenditures related to a storage facility. In the case of the existing community center, there are associated savings and operating costs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, so now I'll turn this over to council. Questions to Mark or Tyson or Hillary? Deputy Mayor?
I'll start us off. This is a really important topic of discussion and a really important issue for our community. Finding a new home for our daycare is vitally important to Lunenburg. And sadly, we don't have a beautiful piece of nice, flat, serviceable land at the ready. So all of the choices that staff have worked hard to present to us have issues surrounding them. So there's no slam dunk here. But I think we've been presented with an opportunity to work with the daycare center folks to eventually come up with a new beautiful space for all of those children who are counting on us. And I think, but exactly where that site is still not clear to me. I think there are a number of steps we have to go through, but I do think we have to take the steps necessary to ensure that the project can move forward. So I would recommend or move that council commit to making available a suitable piece of municipal land subject to further analysis and the necessary steps of public hearing processes that are required to do that. And I would suggest the blue building site, familiarly known as, or 87 Victoria Road, and the land at Star Street, described as below Hillcrest Cemetery and across from the dog park, be those two parcels that are further explored as we go through this process of determining the best site.
So it's moved, basically recommendation. Do you want to move recommendation 1 first? So recommendation 1 has been moved by the deputy mayor. Is there a seconder? Second by Councillor Strong. Any further discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, raise your right hand. Motion carried unanimous. There's a second recommendation you sort of made with the first one. Do you want to make that one as well, Deputy Mayor?
I'd further then move that council direct staff to hold public hearings or a public hearing on entering a lease with the Lunenburg daycare for the 2 parcels of land noted in the former motion.
It's been moved. Is there a seconder? And seconded by Councillor Daphne. Any further discussion on that recommendation? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carried unanimous. So can I ask quickly while we're here, there's a representation from the daycare here. Is that what you needed for tonight? Thank you very much. We just want to make sure this continues and moves along, and hopefully our staff and your staff, and we can all work together to make this a great announcement somewhere down the road for the town of Lunenburg and surrounding areas. So thank you so much. And thank you very much, Deputy Mayor.
I didn't want to look like, again, we may be ignoring the fact that our Royal Canadian Sea Cadet Corps Neptune number 39 is located in that blue building site. That has not gone unnoticed and is one of the issues we've certainly would be very keen to address. This is another very valuable community organization that operates in the town, and you spoke to the value of the community very eloquently earlier. So thank you very much for making the presentation.
Thank you. So we'll move on to 10.2, affordable housing market data collection. There's a recommendation there. Does someone want to move the recommendation? Then we can discuss it.
Maybe get the report.
Okay, who's giving the report? We had Mark, okay.
Thank you once again, and thanks for the opportunity to introduce the subject item, housing market data to support affordable housing development. And recommendation is included that council directs staff to collaborate with Modal on commissioning a comprehensive housing market study to provide updated housing market information and address known data gaps that will support affordable housing within the region. And the alternatives provided are request additional information or to defer decision. Recently, Modal staff were given direction from their council to prepare a request for proposals for the completion of a study to provide updated housing market information that will support affordable housing within the region, and that council send a formal request to neighboring municipalities, including the town of Lunenburg, to participate in the study, which we have since received. For context, CMHC and other agencies rely on local data from the housing market to verify needs and to ensure projects can remain viable when determining whether to fund affordable housing projects. Additionally, the South Shore Housing Action Coalition has reported dramatic housing price increases, rental rate increases, homelessness, and energy poverty, which highlights the needs for affordable housing. As a key financing organization, CMHC finances different types of affordable housing construction programs, including the Apartment Construction Loan Program, which targets the private sector, and Affordable Housing Fund, which targets the nonprofit sector. Data points such as the average median rental rates and average vacancy rates are key factors CMHC considers when deciding to fund affordable housing projects. Low vacancy rates increase the pressure on rental rates, and conversely, higher vacancy rates increased units, eases this pressure. Rental rates are key data points in determining viability of projects, answering questions such as what does affordability look like in the local context, and whether rates ensure the financing can be paid back to avoid default. As it stands, CMHC does not have any current statistics on rental rates within the region, and when reviewing funding proposals, uses aggregated data from a few select areas where sufficient data exists. The housing needs assessment provided by the province in 2023 uses the same CMHC data and some additional information from PVSC, the Property Valuation Services Corporation, which states that the town of Lunenburg had a rental vacancy rate of 7% and the average rents had increased by 10% since 2018. And there appears to be a significant disconnect between this data used and the experiences of community members. Yet, as there's no local data to back this up, as we have heard previously from Jennifer Corson at the last committee of the whole meeting, and whose correspondence is also included in this agenda package. Modal is working and discussed with CMHC, who acknowledge this data gap and have recognized the inadequate methodology for surveying rural communities. The town of Bridgewater has confirmed support and funding, while the municipality of the District of Chester and the town of Mahone Bay have also been requested to participate. Staff from Modal estimate a total project cost of $50,000 and have proposed a cost sharing arrangement proportional to the population. So it would be expected in line with similar types of arrangements with the other regional governments, we'd be expected to contribute somewhere in the range of $3,000 to $5,000. And this type of arrangement is consistent, with these other arrangements like the building services. The expected work or methodology would involve primarily hiring a consultant on surveying and contacting landlords directly. And it's also been identified that this is solely looking at long-term housing, not short-term rentals. And privacy considerations and confidentiality, we've confirmed with our partners in Modal are always paramount when conducting this work, and would be subject to FOIPOP, and would also be clearly articulated in the request for proposals in any awarded contract. And the town would also recognize these requirements in any pursuant cooperation with Modal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. So someone prepared to make the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Strong, seconded by Councillor Babineau. Okay, any discussion on the recommendation and the report? Deputy Mayor?
I just want to thank staff for bringing us the report, and we got the letter kind of cold. And so it's, which, got the ball rolling, but it's important that we know what we're dealing with and what the real need is. And I think this has been spelled out for us now more clearly, that there's, some price range attached and methodology and what's all captured. And it's very interesting that, but I guess not surprising that given the size of our region, we're not, they don't have specific information that's terribly helpful. So it's will be, I hope, very valuable to get this more comprehensive site-specific information that we can use. So thanks very much.
Anybody have anything else? Councillor Babineau.
I actually just wanted to thank Jennifer because I found her impromptu speech at the committee of the whole meeting really helpful for this one. So thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, there's a recommendation on the floor. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, motion carried unanimous. 10.3 information report, Cornwallis Street renaming. Do you want to give the report, Hillary? Hillary?
Thank you so much. Again, I'm Hillary Grant, interim CAO. This is an information report on staff work to date on the renaming of Cornwallis Street as requested November 19th, 2024. It is a summary of past staff work. No additional work or statistical analysis was undertaken to prepare this report. The standing direction from Council following December 10th is to pause the renaming of Cornwallis Street, subject to Council re-examination. The report does, however, include some possible next steps for Council consideration, such as referring the renaming to the Lunenburg County Anti-Racism and Anti-Discrimination Advisory Committee, requesting additional information, selecting another name, conducting a new survey, exploring other public input opportunities, or reaffirming Queen Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go any further, what I might suggest, dealing with this for a while now, there seems to be 6 or 7 next steps, and I'm sure there's other next steps. Could we move this to a future committee of the whole meeting so we can discuss this thoroughly and hopefully come out with a suggestion that, we get it right the next time we do this? So that's what I would recommend at this point, because it's, we've never discussed this as a council. So I think committee of the whole is the next best step at this point. But is everyone in agreement with that? I need a motion to move that to a future committee of the whole meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Councillor Strong. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Fullerton. Any other discussion? Councillor Strong.
I would just like to remind everybody of the sensitivity of this discussion and the fact that we don't want to cause more harm than has already been caused to the Indigenous population of Nova Scotia. So I'm just hoping that this can proceed as as you've suggested, in a meaningful way with public engagement of the town of Lunenburg.
Thank you. All those in favor of the recommendation, raise your right hand on the motion. Raise your opposed, motion carried unanimous. Deputy Mayor.
An afterthought question to Ms. Grant's further comment about where we are now. So that just holds, the pause continues until further discussion. And okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. So there's no new business. There is a notice of motion. So Councillor Strong. It's your, yeah.
Am I making a motion to move it to the committee of the whole? Yeah, okay. So what do you want me to do? So I guess I make a motion that council amend Appendix A of the committee's policy to add the Lunenburg Academy Foundation to the list of external committees.
There's a motion made. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Babineau. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, motion carried unanimous. Now, staff has a recommendation here. Would someone like to move that and appoint a counselor to the Lunenburg Academy Foundation? Deputy Mayor.
I would move that council appoint Councillor Strong to the Lunenburg Academy Foundation Board, and this appointment be reviewed at council's 2025 organizational meeting.
Been moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daphne. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Contrary minded, motion carried unanimous. Items for consideration of committee of the whole. We already have that list done for the next one. Oh, Councillor Fullerton.
A question about 8.7, the proclamation request for Alzheimer's Awareness Month. Did we finalize that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I wasn't sure what 8.7 was. I was trying to find it. Okay, so we have the list for items of committee of the whole. That'll be up and when we post the agenda for that meeting. And now we'll take a 10-minute break, but we'll make a motion first to move into closed session. Is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Fulton. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daphne. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. Great to see so many people here for meeting, basically our first official meeting of 2025. We even have a visitor here from the south side of Chicago sitting in the back right corner. So nice to see you.